The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed like shattered glass under the sodium glow of street lamps, and I stood there, soaked to the bone, watching her taillights vanish into the night. Alex had just slammed her car door after whispering, "This can't happen again," her voice cracking like thunder in the downpour. But 2 nights later, another text. "Dinner? My place. Lights are up." My heart, that treacherous fool, pounded yes before my brain could scream no. How many times would I let her pull me back into this orbit, pretending it was just friendship, when every glance screamed something deeper, something forbidden? I first met Alex at a rooftop bar in Capitol Hill, the kind of place where the city's pulse thrummed with rainbow flags fluttering in the breeze and laughter spilling over craft cocktails. It was Pride Weekend 2023, and Seattle was alive with unapologetic joy, drag queens belting show tunes from a makeshift stage, couples of every stripe tangled in slow dances under the summer haze. I was there with my best friend Mia, nursing a gin and tonic, feeling that familiar ache of being single in a sea of love. At 28, I'd kissed my share of disasters, but nothing prepared me for her. She appeared like a storm cloud in a sundress, long auburn waves framing a face that could stop traffic, blue eyes sharp as Puget Sound on a clear day. Alex was 30, a graphic designer who'd moved from Portland chasing bigger dreams, or so her LinkedIn bio claimed. She bumped into me at the bar, spilling a splash of her rose on my sleeve, and apologized with a laugh that lit up the dim corners of my cynicism. "God, I'm such a klutz. Let me buy you a drink to make up for it." Her voice was warm honey, laced with that effortless Pacific Northwest drawl, and before I knew it, we were talking about bad exes, the absurdity of adulting, the way the Olympics loomed like a mythical beast over the city. I told her my name was Hayden, that I worked as a barista/aspiring novelist in a cramped Queen apartment, scraping by on caffeine and half-formed manuscripts. She leaned in, elbows on the scarred wooden bar, and shared snippets of her life, a string of failed dates with nice guys who ghosted after one too many deep conversations, a cat named Whiskey who ruled her Belltown loft with tyrannical grace. There was no agenda, no flirtation that I could pinpoint, just easy rhythm, like we'd known each other in some past life. But when the conversation veered to pride, her eyes flickered. "It's inspiring, you know? All this. Openness. Wish I had that courage." She sipped her wine, gaze drifting to a pair of women swaying nearby, their hands intertwined. I felt the air shift, a subtle charge, but chalked it up to the electricum of the night. By closing time, numbers exchanged, and a casual, "We should grab coffee sometime," hung between us like a promise. I didn't think much of it until her first text pinged my phone 3 days later. "Heard about this new bookstore cafe in Fremont. You in?" Innocent enough. We met under the glow of hanging Edison bulbs, surrounded by towering shelves of dog-eared paperbacks and the rich scent of fresh ground beans. Alex arrived flustered, hair tied back in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans that hugged her curves just right, and a faded band tee from some indie concert I'd never heard of. She hugged me hello, a quick, platonic squeeze that lingered half a second too long, and we dove into recommendations, her love for magical realism, my obsession with queer memoirs. That was the first dinner invitation, slipped in like an afterthought as we wandered the aisles. "My backyard's got this pergola I strung with fairy lights last summer. Perfect for al fresco reading. Come over? I'll grill something simple." My pulse quickened, but I played it cool. "Sounds idyllic. As long as whiskey doesn't judge my taste in lit." She laughed, that full-throated sound that made my chest tighten, and just like that, I was hooked. Her place was a revelation, a third-floor walk-up in a converted warehouse, walls splashed with her vibrant digital prints of swirling galaxies and fractured cityscapes. The backyard was her sanctuary, a sliver of green amid concrete, bordered by ivy-cloaked fences, with that pergola draped in loops of white fairy lights that twinkled like captured stars. We ate veggie skewers and quinoa salad on mismatched Adirondack chairs, the air thick with jasmine from a neighbor's vine. Conversation flowed, Her dreams of exhibiting in a real gallery, my stalled novel about a woman unraveling family secrets in the Cascades. As dusk fell, she flicked on the lights, and the world softened into gold. That's when she said it, casual as commenting on the weather. I've never really liked women.
Not like that.
Guys are messy enough. She poked at her plate, avoiding my eyes, the lights casting shadows that danced across her freckled cheeks. I froze, fork midway to my mouth, the words landing like a gut punch wrapped in silk. We'd been flirting, hadn't we? The way her knee brushed mine under the table, the lingering looks over wine glasses. Or had I imagined it all, projecting my own longings onto her straight-laced facade? I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. Yeah? Well, life's too short for labels anyway. Inside, my mind reeled, hope curdling into confusion. But she reached across, squeezed my hand, her touch electric.
Exactly.
That's why nights like this are perfect. No pressure. We talked until the lights blurred in the midnight chill, and when she walked me to the door, there was that hug again, her breath warm against my neck. I left with my heart in knots, replaying every glance, every laugh, wondering if I was reading maps drawn in invisible ink. The invitations kept coming, each one a siren call I couldn't ignore. A week later, storms rolling in, dinner inside. I've got that new Murakami you mentioned. I showed up with a bottle of Pinot Noir, nerves jangling like loose change. Her loft smelled of garlic and rosemary, whiskey weaving figure eights around my ankles as if staking claim. We cooked together, her chopping onions with fierce precision, me stirring sauce while stealing glances at the curve of her neck, exposed as she tied her hair up. Over plates of pasta by the window, rain pattering against the glass like impatient fingers, she opened up about her last breakup, a guy named Tyler who'd bailed when she suggested therapy, calling her too intense. "You're not too anything," I said, the words tumbling out before I could cage them.
You're real.
That's rare. Her eyes met mine, soft in the lamplight, and for a heartbeat, the room shrank to just us, air thick with what-ifs. She leaned closer, our shoulders touching, and murmured, "Coming from you, that means something." My skin hummed, but she pulled back, clearing her throat. "Anyway, dessert? I baked brownies. Don't judge the edges." That night, as I lay in my own bed blocks away, the fairy lights haunted me. Not the ones in her yard, but the illusion they cast. She didn't like women, she'd said. Yet here I was, tangled in her web, each dinner a thread pulling tighter. I told myself it was harmless. Two friends bonding over shared solitude in a city that chewed up dreams and spat out husks. But deep down I knew better. Alex was a question mark wrapped in wildfire, and I was the moth too drawn to the flame to fly away. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen evenings. A picnic in Discovery Park one golden afternoon, where she packed artisanal cheeses and crusty bread, her laughter echoing as we raced gulls across the driftwood-strewn beach. "Race you to the lighthouse," she'd yell, her sundress billowing like sails, and I'd chase, breathless, not just from the run. Under the shadow of evergreens, we'd collapse in the grass, shoulders brushing, talking about everything and nothing, her fear of turning 31 without a real partner, my quiet pride in owning my queerness after years of hiding in the closet. "You're brave, Hayden," she'd say, plucking blades of grass, her voice laced with something like envy. "I envy that freedom." I'd shrug, heart aching. It's not always freedom. Sometimes it's just surviving the stairs. But with her, there were no stairs, only this bubble we built, fragile as sea foam. And always the dinners. Backyard feasts under those damn lights, where she'd serve up grilled salmon or veggie stir-fry, candles flickering between us like confessions waiting to be spoken. One night, as October's chill nipped at our heels, she poured us mulled wine and wrapped us in a shared blanket on the pergola swing. The fairy lights swayed gently, casting her face in ethereal glow. "Remember that first night?" she asked, voice low. When I spilled wine on you? I nodded, throat tight. Best accident ever. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Hayden, I need to be honest. These nights, they're everything to me. But I'm not. I mean, I've never. She trailed off, fingers twisting the blanket's fringe. Never what? I pressed, my voice barely above a whisper, the air between us crackling. She looked at me then, really looked, her blue eyes stormy. Felt this pull. With anyone. Especially not. Like this. The words hung, heavy with implication. My breath caught, hope flaring wild and reckless. But before I could respond, her phone buzzed on the table, shattering the moment. It was her ex, Tyler, texting about some forgotten jacket. She glanced at it, color draining from her face, and the vulnerability snapped shut like a clamshell. Sorry, she muttered, shoving the phone away. Old ghosts. We finished the wine in strained silence, the lights mocking me with their cheer. When I left, her hug was fierce, almost desperate, her lips brushing my cheek in what could have been accident or intent. I walked home through fog-shrouded streets, Seattle's famous drizzle mirroring the tears I refused to shed. She didn't like women, I reminded myself. So, why did every invitation feel like a plea? The invitations didn't stop, they escalated. A holiday pop-up market in Pike Place, where she dragged me through stalls of handcrafted ornaments, her arm looped through mine like it belonged there. Pick one for my tree, she'd insist, holding up a glass star that caught the light just like her eyes. We ended up at her place again, decorating amid Bing Crosby croons on the stereo, tinsel tangling our laughter. As midnight tolled, she turned to me, ornament in hand. Hayden, stay? Just for New Year's. It'll be lonely otherwise. I stayed. We clinked champagne flutes under the fairy lights extended to her living room, the city fireworks blooming beyond the window like distant promises. Her head found my shoulder, breath syncing with mine, and in that suspended hush, I felt it, the precipice. Alex, I whispered, turning to face her. Our noses brushed, lips inches apart, the world narrowing to the heat of her skin. But she froze, eyes wide with panic. I can't. I'm not. I don't like women. The words were a slap, echoing her first confession, but this time laced with desperation. She pulled away, retreating to the kitchen for more bubbly, leaving me adrift in the glow. The night unraveled from there. Polite toasts, forced smiles, until I mumbled goodbyes and fled into the crisp January air. My apartment felt colder than ever, whiskey's ghost purring in my memory as I curled under covers, replaying the almost kiss. What was this? A game? A cry for help? Or was I just the safe harbor for her uncharted storms? February brought Valentine's frost, and her text arrived like clockwork. Anti-Valentine's dinner? No hearts, no flowers, just us and bad movies. I should have said no.
God, I should have.
But the pull was magnetic, and soon I was back under those lights, plates of heart-shaped pizzas mocking us from the table. We watched rom-coms, her commentary sharp and witty, but midway through when Harry met Sally, she paused the screen. Do you think it's possible? To feel something you can't name? My heart hammered. All the time. She shifted closer, our thighs pressing, the blanket cocooning us. With you, it's like gravity. But I'm scared, Hayden. Scared of what it means. Her hand found mine, tentative, trembling. I laced our fingers, thumb tracing her knuckles. Then let's be scared together. The kiss happened slow, inevitable, her lips soft and hesitant against mine, tasting of salt and cider. It was fire and flood, her sigh breaking the dam as she melted into me. But dawn brought regret. She woke with a jolt, eyes haunted. This was a mistake. I can't like women. She dressed in a frenzy, avoiding my gaze, the fairy lights harsh in morning light. Please just go. I left with my soul in tatters, the door clicking shut like finality. Weeks of radio silence followed, my texts unread, her social media a ghost town. Seattle's spring blooms mocked me, cherry blossoms drifting like confetti from a party I wasn't invited to. I threw myself into work, slinging lattes with mechanical smiles, scribbling furious chapters in stolen moments. Mia noticed, of course, dragged me to therapy sessions where I unpacked the ache of loving someone allergic to their own heart. "She's not ready," my counselor said gently. "And you deserve someone who is." But logic was no match for longing. One rainy April evening, as thunder rumbled over the sound, my phone lit up.
Can we talk?
"Dinner."
Please.
I went. The backyard was transformed, fairy lights joined by paper lanterns, a feast of sushi rolls and edamame steaming on the table. Alex looked wrecked, dark circles under her eyes, hair unkempt, but her smile was tentative hope. "I ghosted you."
I'm sorry.
"Therapy's kicking my ass. Turns out, labels are bullshit, but feelings aren't." We ate in charged quiet, rain pattering on the pergola roof like applause. She told me everything then, the internalized shame from a conservative upbringing in Spokane, the string of men she'd dated to prove something to herself, the terror of that kiss unlocking doors she'd bolted shut. "You're the first person who's made me want to try."
To be honest.
"But it's terrifying." Tears streaked her cheeks, illuminated by the lights. I reached for her hand. "Then let's take it slow. No rush. Just us figuring it out." Summer unfurled like a revelation. Dinners became dates, picnics in Gasworks Park, where we'd lie on checkered blankets watching kite surfers slice the sky, midnight hikes up Rattlesnake Ledge, her hand in mine as stars wheeled overhead. The fairy lights were our constant, witnesses to tentative kisses that deepened into passion, her laughter freer with each passing night. There were setbacks, a panic attack after her mom's disapproving call, nights where doubt crept in like fog. But we talked, raw and real, building bridges over chasms of fear. By August, as Seattle's rare heat wave baked the streets, she said it over grilled peaches and prosciutto under the pergola. "I like women. I like you, Hayden. More than like, I love you." The words were a vow, simple and profound, the lights twinkling approval. We made love that night, slow and sacred, her body a map I'd memorized in dreams. It wasn't perfect, society's stares still stung, family rifts loomed, but in each other's arms, we found grace. The real storm hit in September, when Tyler resurfaced, not as an ex, but as a friend, crashing her gallery opening in Pioneer Square. I'd supported her through the nerves, her debut exhibit of queer-coded abstracts pulsing with the vulnerability she'd poured into them. The space buzzed, critics sipping Chardonnay, friends toasting her courage. Alex shone, auburn hair swept into an elegant updo, black dress hugging her frame like midnight silk. I hovered on the edges, proud and a little possessive, my hand brushing hers in stolen moments. Then Tyler arrived, all broad shoulders and easy charm, enveloping her in a hug that lingered too long. "Missed you, Al. This is incredible." His eyes flicked to me, appraising, and I felt the chill. They talked shop, old collaborations, inside jokes, and she laughed in that unguarded way that twisted my gut. By night's end, as guests thinned, he cornered her near the wine table. "We were good together. What if we tried again? For real this time?" I overheard from across the room, heart plummeting. She glanced my way, eyes pleading, but Tyler pressed on, voice low and insistent. "You're confused, babe. This, whatever it is, it's a phase. Come home with me tonight." The air thickened, the gallery's abstract swirls closing in like judgmental eyes. Alex's face crumpled, old fears resurfacing, the safety of familiarity warring with the terror of truth. I slipped out, rain greeting me like an old friend, hailing a cab through blurred vision. My phone stayed silent as I paced my apartment, whiskey successor, a tabby named Sage, watching with feline indifference. Hours ticked by, each one a knife twist. Was this it? The fairy lights extinguished, our fragile world crumbling under the weight of what-ifs. She showed up at 2 a.m., drenched and distraught, pounding on my door until I yanked it open. "Hayden, wait, don't let me go." She collapsed into my arms, sobs racking her frame. "He doesn't get it. No one did, until you." I told him I'm gay, that I love you, and he laughed, like it was a joke. Her words broke me open, fury and relief crashing like waves. We sank to the floor, her head on my lap, and I stroked her hair as the storm raged outside. "I chose you," she whispered, finally fiercely. "Every time." Dawn found us tangled in sheets, bodies and souls entwined, the city awakening to a world remade. Tyler faded to a footnote, his toxicity no match for her blooming authenticity. We navigated the fallout, awkward family calls, supportive friends rallying like sentinels, but each hurdle forged us stronger. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting Seattle's sidewalks in crimson and gold, and our dinners under the fairy lights took on new ritual. One crisp October Eve, as the first anniversary of our first spill-marked meeting approached, Alex led me blindfolded to the pergola. The air hummed with possibility, candles guttering in mason jars, a string quartet playlist murmuring from hidden speakers. She unveiled a canvas, her latest piece, two women silhouetted against a starry skyline, hands clasped under luminous strands, titled Unlabeled Light. "I painted us," she said, voice thick. The mess, the magic, all of it. Tears pricked my eyes as she dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but a simple key on a leather cord. To her loft, her life, her heart. "Move in with me? Build this, whatever it becomes." "Yes," I breathed, pulling her up into a kiss that tasted of forever. The lights danced witness, Seattle's skyline a distant chorus to our quiet triumph. We'd come from denial's shadows to this radiant now, proof that love, in all its unlabeled glory, defies the scripts we fear. In the years that followed, our story wove into the city's tapestry. Alex's art exploded, galleries clamoring for her raw explorations of queer awakening, while I finished that novel, dedicating it to the woman who taught me patience's power. We adopted Sage's sibling, a rescue pup named Ember, and hosted brunches under those eternal lights, surrounded by a chosen family that spanned orientations and origins. Challenges lingered, society's subtle barbs, the ache of unsupportive kin, but they paled against our shared resilience. On quiet nights, as rain tap-danced on the roof, she'd trace my palm and whisper, "Thank you for not giving up." And I'd reply, "Thank you for letting me in." Love, it turned out, wasn't about grand gestures or flawless facades. It was the courage to invite someone to dinner under fairy lights, even when your heart trembled at the truth. It was choosing vulnerability over safety, again and again. And in that choice, we found not just each other, but ourselves, whole, unapologetic, alive.